Welcome to the Black Panther Podcast. This event is an effort of the BrightSeed Collaborative, whose mission is to create a more diverse and progressive future through art, technology, and culture. Special thanks to our partner Street Level, who will be filming our show today. And thanks to First Aid Comics for allowing us to host our show here in the upper room of their comic book store. I'm Nicole Waddington, and today I'll be your host for the third in a series of 4 shows discussing Marvel's Black Panther movie. I would like to, first off, I'm grateful to have a little bit of time to explore the knowledge, insight, and opinions of 2 very special panelists who can help us better understand the world of the Black Panther. So I would like to start off by going around the table to introduce the guests.
Hi, my name is Nikki, Lynette. I'm an independent musician who licenses my music to television and film. I'm a member of Sugar Gamers, which is an organization that represents underrepresented demographics in the worlds of geek culture, gaming, and technology. And I'm a self-professed nerd. So yeah, very happy to be here.
Greetings, I'm Sheila Lewis. I am an executive producer, writer, and storyteller. I have a blended background in finance and communications. I know Jonathan and some of this crew from having a television and video production firm for over 10 years, and now I serve artists, creatives, and entrepreneurs and help them become more financially sustainable in the work that they do.
All right, so we have a lot of dynamic power here at this table, so let's just cut right onto it. Bam. So, all right, so we've been hearing about it. It has been a long journey hearing about it, just processing it. How do you feel about this movie? What are you anticipating about the Black Panther? Like, what do you feel when you hear that title?
Well, first of all, as I said to BrightSeed Collaborative, I said, listen, I'm not a comics expert. I had exposure to graphic novels from a former roommate, but I know nothing about comics. So what I love about this film is that it provides a platform for exposure to people who would never have even imagined this kind of a universe. I'm excited that people are excited. I'm excited that everybody online is talking about their outfits. Mm-hmm. I'm excited that one of the churches I belong to has bought out 6 theaters and they're sold out. I'm excited that, I can't get a ticket now because I snoozed and I waited too late. I love that from a financial standpoint, that it is the best pre-sales of any of the Marvel empire. So I'm really excited on so many levels for the communication and exposure to so many different people. People don't have to be a nerd. People don't have to be a blurb. People don't have to be, a graphic novel, know any of this, but really get into the energy and the empowerment around living in a wonderful universe of Black people and positivity.
As a person who has engaged in geek culture my whole life, geek culture and comic books, these used to be things that were specific to nerds.
Yeah.
And now movies, these comic book movies come out and it galvanizes the public to get really excited about things that people like me have been into for a long time. Because, I have alternative roots. So growing up, things like comic books, things like technology, things like futurism, these were concepts that were part of a very small niche world.
Okay.
To see everybody engaging with the content in this way, it's not necessarily, personally for me, I read graphic novels, I read comics. So this Black Panther conversation is not new to me. I knew about Black Panther. I knew about his marriage to Storm. I knew about Wakanda. This stuff isn't new to me. What is new to me, though, and what I'm really looking forward to is what the impact of Black Panther being this successful is going to do for the representation of Black people in entertainment and media. Because what's going to happen is now all these different entities are saying, wow, when we get Black directors and cast relevant Black actors, they don't only have to be light skinned, they can be people of various shades. We can get young Black people to, be at the head of this, and we can fund this, and there will be a return. Now we're going to see more representation. Now we're going to see more things that are relevant to Black people. And what I love about Black Panther, and of course I have not yet seen the movie, but what I love about the imagery and all the way down to them getting Kendrick Lamar to do the soundtrack, what I love about it is that they are not phoning it in. This is not token Blackness. Right. This is not manufactured Blackness. This is Black people in 2018. So they're going to see that, hey, when we create something, when we give representation, and when we let it be unapologetically Black, it can be lucrative. And I think that that's going to lead to more representation in entertainment and media. And that's what I'm a recording artist. I'm an entertainer. So, of course, that's what I'm most excited about.
You hit on a lot of points that we'll expand on. Now, this table is full of creative power. I mean, we're creatives here. So what kind of traits or things you feel haven't been seen in a lot of projects that's missing? Like, would you feel you need to see in a lead character or superhero? Like, what do you feel is still, like, not there when it comes to the things you would like to see from a creative standpoint, from a creator standpoint?
More women of color.
I think we're also missing the opportunity to share intergenerational stories. I hate that it's so focused. Usually media is focused on young, or they put you in a particular category of young, middle, or seasoned. I think that there's benefits to being able to share those stories at the same table and not be compartmentalized into different areas.
Interesting. I agree. Now, we are getting to the very hot topic. One of the hot topics of the movie is the elite group of women that you see a lot in the promotional material, the Dora Milaje. Now, Wakanda is home to 18 different tribes, and you have the strongest woman of each tribe joining in, and they're like the personal guard for Black Panther. Now, when was the last time you've seen African women come together as a fighting force like that?
In real life all the time. But they don't show that type of sisterhood and bonding in film. The way that Black women... See, I can only speak from the perspective of a woman of color because I have never not been one. So I don't... Maybe women who are not of color have a similar sisterhood. Maybe there's a similar kindred thing. I don't know. But I do know that women tend to... Black women and women of color in general, I'll say women of color in general, tend to have an ability to come together and unite for to accomplish things or for a cause, and we see that just because of the success of Black Lives Matter, which is helmed by women.
Exactly. What I loved Xena Warrior Princess, right?
I did.
I was like that person, and but it was never any people of color. But I loved the power of a woman who was in shape and could kick ass. And so what I love about what this is doing is that it is showcasing women doing that same thing. Like Nikki said, we've always come together. We always make things happen. We make that way. We make that village occur. But to be able to see that represented on film, to be able to see that represented in anything that media, I think of little children, little girls who are going to get a chance to see this. That, to me, is going to be the impact on our culture.
Yes, and also to kind of piggyback of what you've already said, because particularly when it comes to Black women and also just women of color in the diaspora, it also has a reflection on how we are in various movements in life, because Black women were such a force in the civil rights movement here in America. But oftentimes what ends up happening is that you'll just see women in kind of isolated situations. Like you kind of just see them in like little microcosms of storytelling, but never where it's just, with the exception of them just
Front
being
center.
in the background, they're like never really centralized.
Absolutely.
And like centralized in a way to where they're like a dynamic group together. So for me, it's very interesting to see them all come together, because also too, it feeds into the stereotype that women can't come together, that somehow there's this element of, you know, aggression amongst women. Yeah, and competition, when it's not as you know, cutthroat as it seems when it comes to sisterhood. And that we, you know, I mean, you see it on the playground with girls playing double dutch. You see it when we're doing each other's hair. I mean, there's this unspoken bond that
this is real life.
that media tends to miss, and it sends the wrong message that kind of feeds very toxic ideologies about women, and especially women of color.
Right.
You know?
I think that's what's happening, which is really, really good, is that for a long time, Black women were seen as a monolith. And it's like, oh, Black girl traits, Black girl hair, Black girl this. And what's happening over the past several years is that we are allowed autonomy as individuals. We're allowed, okay, well, I can be a Black girl who wears my bundles, and I can be a Black girl with my natural hair, and we can still be friends and have things in common.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that that's really important. And I think another thing that's becoming very important is that Black women have started calling out appropriation.
Damn.
When a Black woman is wearing braids or wearing dreads, and we go through the struggles that we go through to be accepted in different spaces with that aesthetic. And then a Kim Kardashian comes along and she calls it Bo Derek braids. Okay, sis, you cute in your braids, but you ain't finna act like that's Bo Derek, mom. Like come on back. And this is not me coming at Kim Kardashian, because I mean, like, I don't know her personally at all in any way, but them ain't Bo Derek braids. My mama gave me them braids. You know
The
what I'm saying?
cornrows.
And with the beads,
Exactly.
come on now. With the
Right,
beads,
exactly.
it's obvious.
And I think that what's really important about calling out appropriation is that when we can understand, hey, this is what Black women are bringing to this space. Now we have respect for the contributions of Black women. Now we have more brands showing representation and marketing products that we actually need. Now we have us being seen as influencers and tastemakers and getting our rightful place in these conversations.
Yeah, especially when the first millionaire was a Black woman. It's Madam C.J. Walker. So it's where our power is being recognized in the way that it should have been recognized a long time ago. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Whole nother podcast.
And on the subject of super women in color, look, we all kind of like, okay, look, we had Wonder Woman come out, but can we get like a She-Ra lead character in movies? Like, we typically, you know, see women in real life, you know, kicking butt all the time, you know, whether it be legislation, whether it be, or whatever platform.
In a movie, she's always a sidekick.
Yeah, she's typically the supporting cast, or if she is dynamic, she's just kind of just the love interest, just there, just to be like, hey, how you
I think
doing?
she's coming.
You know.
I think the black powerful female lead in film is coming. I think that Black Panther is going to create room for that. I think it's coming. It's probably going to be Lupita, and I will be front and center here for it.
He'd just be killing it. I'm just like, like, are you? Like, she's just so magical. I'm just like
think about it. Storm should have by now already had her own movie. Storm, if it was not Halle Berry playing Storm, no disrespect to Halle, she mad cute. But, like, for me, Angela Bassett would have been the perfect Storm in her day. Now we got Denai Guerrero.
Yep.
Am I pronouncing her last name
Yes.
right? If she does not play Storm, I'm going to be sad and feel like I have been let down in my generation. Like, we should have a Storm. She should be on film. She should be happening. It should have happened already. And so I'm putting it out there into the universe that is the first Black female lead we see in a comic book movie.
And an interesting tidbit. I'm sorry, go ahead, Sheila.
Or in all genres, like seeing a strong Black female lead, I think is important. Now, whether or not you liked Taraji Henson's recent movie or not, the fact that she made sure to take the lead by executive producing a film that is cast her as an action figure in that kind of genre is a step in the right direction. And people threw all kinds of shade at the movie. So from a content standpoint, you may not like it, but people are like, oh, that's why it's a flop. I was like, you didn't run those numbers. I was like, for opening weekend, she made 75% of the production cost. Opening weekend. We haven't even gotten to international. We haven't gotten to second weekend. We haven't gotten to video on demand. We haven't gotten to any of that. So it's financial success, and I hate to say it, but financial success has a lot to do with how we control our image on screen. I mean, we need to be able to write the checks. So you have a project and you have a project, and you're going to come to me and say, hey, I got this, graphic novel I want to do. I'm like, okay, talk to me. Let's write those checks. Let's make sure that we have those financial systems in place to support one another to create the stories that we want to be seen.
Right, exactly. And a tidbit to kind of go back to what you were saying, Nikki, about Angela Bassett. It's interesting because Angela Bassett was going to initially be Storm back in the Double O's, back when the first X-Men, the first trilogy came out, but they didn't offer her the pay grade that she wanted. Oh. So, and it's interesting because it's the conversation also gets into about Black women getting paid as they should be paid. Because of course, the whole thing with another actress, but that's a whole totally different conversation. But yeah, it definitely runs into another conversation that should be had as well. So we have Storm, we have Vixen, we have Bumblebee, we have Amanda Waller, we have Rocket, we have all of these different dynamics of Black superheroinism, as I'd call it, in comics. How do you feel about that? And do you feel that it's that they offer a balanced gamut of what Black sheroism could be? Or do you think that there's also more room within those different contrasts to where we could show more of a wider perspective of the Black woman in comic culture?
When we're talking about comic book culture, a lot of these characters are like older than us. So how they are represented on camera is not always true to canon. Like Halle Berry as Storm. Come on now. She wasn't even really like effective as a Catwoman. So like and I'm saying it as somebody who likes I'm saying it as somebody who likes Halle Berry and have probably seen every movie that Halle Berry has been in, and the extent to which her black don't crack is something that I can only aspire. You know what I'm saying? But I feel that Black female characters have not always been true to canon. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how Black female characters are portrayed in comic book movies moving forward. I think it's going to say a lot about what the future of that genre looks like. I'm also extremely ready to see, like the sister mentioned, Black female characters that are not over-sexualized or just super young. Like, I am ready to see more range. And I think that if we start seeing that in comic book movies, it's going to say a lot about the state of the industry right now.
I think it's all about a shift. So I can remember the controversy, I don't know, a couple months ago, a year ago, whatever it was, when Idris was floated as being the next Bond, and people were up in arms because they couldn't imagine. I was just like, yes, oh my God, yes. So it's a shift in how mainstream entertainment business has seen African Americans in lead roles. And so, like you said, extending that range and looking at the character and whether or not they have the acting skills to be able to do that. I agree on a couple of things with Halle Berry. I was like, well, not my favorite actress, but okay, maybe it works for someone else. But when you look at Idris and Bond, I'm like, that's a no-brainer. You don't even have to have a casting call for that. Like, make that happen.
Yeah.
So be able to align the people who actually have the ability with the positions to be able to show that ability.
Interesting. Now, we do have, in light of Black Panther and along with what's happening, we do have a good number of independent artists on the forefront of pushing, super women forward. We have people like Yona Harvey, we have Juliana Smith, we have Mildred Lewis. We have all these different campaigns and projects that are on the mission of pushing super women and also super women of color forward. So we just have like a lot of opportunity that's happening right now, and so much perspective that's being told that's not told from a perspective of power, but by actual person, because far often do we have people in positions of power telling the story as opposed to it being from the person that is supposed to center. So we have a lot going on. So with that being said, we wanted to highlight a few of those. Like I said before, we have Yona Harvey. Okay, we have Roxane Gay, maybe the first Black woman to write for Marvel Comics, but Yona Harvey is the second. She will be joining Gay on World of Wakanda, co-writing a 10-page backup story for the premiere issue. That story will focus on Zenzi, who incited a riot in the first issue of Black Panther. That's interesting to know. We have Mildred Lewis, who has been publishing the series twice a week for a few years now and just released the first physical collection thanks to a successful Kickstarter campaign. Agents of the Realm combines elements from a handful of genres, most recognizably the Magic Girl fantasy style of series like Sailor Moon, but with Lewis's own twist. The cast of characters offers a team of kick-ass young women with diverse backgrounds and appearances. We also have Juliana's Jules Smith, who has Afrocentric, an ongoing story about a group of young people of color working within the community to fight against gentrification. Now, that's interesting. Smith says she created the comic to challenge readers about the presumptions around race, class, gender, and sexuality through character dialogue. Now, I will definitely be looking into that. We have Michelin Hess with Malice in Ovenland. This story follows Lily Brown, a young girl from Queens, as she discovers a world of adventure hidden inside her oven. Now, we already know how the oven be making magic, but not magic like that. Hess says she was inspired to write this fantasy adventure story for young audiences because as a kid, she almost never saw this kind of comic book character she could relate to. And also, too, we have Tanika Stotts. And we also have, of course, Ashley Woods, Millennia War, and Niobe, an orphan wild elf teenager, and also the would-be savior of the vast and volatile fantasy world of Asunda. She is running from a past where the devil himself would see her damned. Damn. Now, another talking point surrounding the whole Black Panther project is the movie premiere and the what is called the purple carpet. Now, I don't know what y'all saw, but I know what I saw. And I just saw everybody just... Now, they say black don't crack. Well, black show up and show out. Did you see them? Did you see the outfits?
I did.
Oh, my God. Like, can we talk about... Oh, my goodness.
It made me want to think, like, damn, I have to step my game up. My little outfit is just basic. I need to
Like no t-shirt
around the world.
Right.
The premieres around the world have been just awesome from a fashion standpoint.
Yes.
From hair standpoint. I was like, I need to do those little twists. I mean, just I think it's just so holistic.
Yeah.
The way it's being presented and the way it's being marketed, it makes me proud to see them every time they step out. It's like I never really follow premieres. I'm just like, I'll go see it when I see it. Premieres is all about everybody showing up. I'm like glued. I'm like, what they wearing? Who's on the carpet? Who's on the carpet?
It's like it's
exciting.
Culture now.
It is exciting.
What you think, Nick?
We so rarely get to, if you think about, what's the sister's name? The one who had trouble getting a dress.
Leslie
Ghostbusters.
Jones.
Leslie, right.
Like, Leslie, she recently put out this statement about how she feels like she's having trouble and communicated that she considers herself to be unattractive.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, the fact that she was unable to get dressed for her own major film premiere didn't make that better. So the fact that we're seeing designers, I even saw some people saying, they should have had all black designers on the runway and this and that, or they should have had all black designers doing the clothing that they had on the carpet. And my question would be, why? My question would be, why would we not instead communicate the significance of black actors being able to wear any designer?
Anything.
And have them be beautiful and worthy. And it's my understanding that some of them actually were wearing black designers.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that it was a black woman who we just looked up, Ruth E. Carter, who did all of the costume design for the entire film.
There you go.
Right.
And so I have to look at it from both sides of it. Like I loved seeing that, but it wasn't only because of the fashion. It was also because of what it represents and how it's going to push the culture forward.
I agree.
It's about the shift. We shouldn't have to be in the compartment of only black designers. Whenever someone comes to a film premiere, if you have a Halle Berry, it's not only black designers. Everybody wants to dress Halle Berry because there's an opportunity for that designer to have their clothing showcased. Well, this is an opportunity for any designer to have their clothing showcased in front of an audience that they didn't even know existed.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like what it communicates is, wow, okay, through black films and films that black people connect to, films in which black people see representation, we can find access to a market that is very valuable for us.
Yes.
Let us market to them. Let us find out what's relevant to them and create things that they would want to buy. I think that that's a very important conversation. And again, do I think that means that we should exclude black designers or not support black designers? No, I would say if anything, black designers who are creating stuff that is in alignment with the aesthetic that's becoming very popular within black fashion and black independent fashion, designers who are doing that now are going to find a whole new market of people who are probably going to be looking for them and looking for the kind of stuff they create.
Yeah, and also too the fact that black is such a wide gamut that we might be looking at black and don't even know it because we're expecting it to look a particular way. That just because we don't see the Ankara, or if we don't see particular patterns, they'd be like, oh, see, that's black.
Right.
You could be looking at a designer that has a more, a more simpler design, but we wouldn't expect that because we're expecting black to look a particular way. So that's always something that people tend to forget because black is such a wide range. Black is expressive in so many ways. It's iterated in so many different manifestations that, look, all black is not going to look the same.
Like everything ain't going to look like the video for all the stars. You know what I'm saying? Like some stuff is going to look different, and I think that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so with this soundtrack, we have like a phenomenal soundtrack. It's curated by Kendrick Lamar, 14 tracks. We got SZA, we got Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, we have 2 Chainz, Future, Vince Staples, Anderson .Pac, you name it. And you just mentioned the music video with SZA and Kendrick Lamar, All the Stars. So What are your thoughts about that kind of representation in music videos?
I thought it was gorgeous, but again, I'm black punk, so this aesthetic is not something that I've been dressing like that since I was a teenager, and anybody who's a fan of me knows that. So of course I liked it because it looks very familiar to me. I just wish there were more women on the soundtrack.
Very true. Very true.
I would say I loved it because of the exposure. Again, I didn't grow up dressing that way. And I love the funkiness. I like the difference. I like seeing it's an expression of creativity in the way that some people may not expect. And it's beauty expressed through people's creativity. So I love the expression of creativity, even if I don't like it. I'm like, not for me, but I still love the artistry of it. It's important for me to see people express their artistry. And when I see that happening and it's not the same cookie cutter, it's very different, it's very expressive, that is where I get the joy from. I don't have to like it, I don't have to be exposed to it, I don't have to know anything about it, but to be exposed to it, to learn something new, and to just be influenced by someone else's thought is where I like to stay when I see stuff like this.
I think that they did a good job of staying true to the things within that particular subculture that we expect to see and the ways in which we expect to see it. We don't like it looking cheap. We know what what the symbols are. We know how the cloth is supposed to be used. So I think that they did a good job of being authentic. I just wish they would have had more women on the soundtrack. More women on the soundtrack. More women on the soundtrack. More women on the soundtrack.
And we are back. We are back from break, and here we are. I am still here with Nikki, Lynette, and I am obviously Nicole Waddington. So, hey, how you doing? We back.
Obviously, Nicole.
Obviously, Nicole Waddington.
Obviously, that's who she is.
Obviously. All right. So, we were just... We're not going to talk about what we said off camera, but back to the conversation. Now we're at the point where we were talking about the haters. We were talking about the groups protesting Black Panther. Now, we are just going to go through a few of these little sad little groups. This group right here, right? This group described itself as a pro-DC expanded universe fan page that opposes Disney's Marvel and Star Wars franchises. It's the same group that claimed responsibility for lowering the score of Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, in December 2017, complaining that the film included social justice warrior concepts by featuring prominent female characters that spoke down to the film's male characters. Then we have another group called Christians Against Black Panther Movie, y'all. That has popped up on the scene and has grown tremendously as the movie approaches. The 6-year-old group, started by someone who will be named nameless, now has over 4,000 members. The group's mission statement is a little vague, but does start off with welcoming all fellow followers of the Lord, our Savior, Jesus Christ. The group mentions the people behind the movie being the liberal mega propaganda machine, and says that the movie is racist because it promotes the Black Panther Party, a revolutionary socialist organization founded by Bobby Seale and Huey Newton. Now,
Wow.
Where do we start?
There's so much to unpack. First of all, the Black Panther Party was not a terrorist group.
Never.
It was created 100 years after the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan was first. The Black Panther Party was a direct response. So, second, it is a comic book movie written by Marvel. That's white folk. So, it wasn't written by the Black Panther Party. But I think
they use the same chair as the Black Panther.
I know, it's a panther.
Huey P. Newton.
Panthers are bad. Nothing's good about Panthers. No.
Where's the White Panther at?
I know, right? Ain't no White Panthers. I think that one thing that we don't acknowledge is that we have to think about how sad and pathetic it is that
Truly sad.
for a lot of people in this country, they're scared.
Yeah, they are.
A lot of conservative, vanilla people. White conservativeness has been the default for a long time.
Very long time.
And none of my white friends are even like that. Like, I don't even know no straight up white vanilla people anymore. But they exist somewhere somehow.
They do.
Like, I don't know where, but they're here. And they're loud. And they have money.
Yeah.
And so when they speak out, they get heard. But their voices are becoming quieter and quieter. They no longer have the power to stop something like a Black Panther from happening. So there's going to be outcry. But there's also been Black people, like we talked about earlier, there's also been Black people who have been salty about different aspects of Black Panther, saying that they feel that money from the film should be donated. It's not Black enough. Marvel is ran by white people, and ultimately that's who's going to make the most money off of it, not the director or the Black cast. And to that I would say, shut up. And I say that because, you know, what we want is for Black films and Black representation to be profitable to entities like Marvel, entities like Nickelodeon, entities like Disney, because they will ultimately create more opportunities for Black designers, Black costume designers, Black actors, Black directors. And through creating a lucrative environment in those spaces, we will ultimately be able to fund our own.
Exactly.
We will be able to compete in those spaces ourselves and get funding like other people who play this same game.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we'll be able to do the same thing. And why don't we want that? If we're having a conversation about equality, equality is not, hey, let me and all the other Black people go over here and do this only for Black people. No, equality is, hey, guess what? We have a really dope thing. Okay, well, let us fund this thing. Now we created this thing. Now we're going to market and promote this thing.
Exactly.
If anything, you want Black entities to be able to do these types of, like, this is a Black director, it's a young Black director. This is somebody that got like 40, 50 years in the paint. Yeah. Exactly. So we want more entities to be able to compete and work in these spaces and have the same respect as their peers.
Exactly. Because
now Brian Cooper is on the same level as, like, he's done a film to the same magnitude as a Jon Favreau.
Oh yeah, he is one of our leading Black Renaissance directors. I mean, Ryan Coogler, who's obviously done Creed, and obviously look at the success that has made. And just, this movie, to me, just exposes a lot of people's nature.
Yeah.
Like, from both sides, obviously. You have the white side, and also, too, because you definitely mentioned the conservative side, which is very interesting because I feel like it also exposes the supposed white demographic that claims tolerance, but really kind of exposes a deeper level that even they themselves have not really come to terms with, you know, because of just what they think they are of themselves when it comes to race relations, gender identity, and that they feel that, you know, hey, me, I'm good because I align myself with these people. So I'm clearly not racist. But they do not understand that it is a deeper, more hidden level to racism that plays out in quote unquote liberal circles, and I see Black Panther being an example of that being exposed.
See, Black people didn't choose to have Black Panther be the movie that showed up and gave us proper representation with actors that we like and a director that we're really into. We didn't choose that. That just happened right now.
Yep.
That decision was just made. And so it just so happens that this particular film speaks to what we want to see and what we connect with. We did not choose that.
Yeah. We
did not choose, hey, everybody, let's all collectively like Black Panther. No, it just showed up at the right time under the right circumstances. And people who are against it are just going to be on the wrong side of history.
Yes.
If you recall, there was a time when Black entertainment and Black film were very prominent in America. And what always happens is it does really well. Something happens. It get whitewashed and it goes away. I think that with this happening in their entertainment era that is so deeply entrenched in the internet, is going to have way more staying power now.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. And what's going to be interesting with net neutrality showing up and making it so content is king more than it ever has been before, more and more of these major media networks are going to have to start doing stuff that Black people like.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest and say that one of the main entities that has been at the forefront of creating content that Black people keep coming back to has been Netflix. I'm salty at them for getting rid of the Get Down, but there's still been. But then Netflix has chewing gum. Netflix has Luke Cage.
Yes.
Netflix has Bright. Netflix has what's the sister? It's this one. I forget the name of it, but it's like a funny show about dating as a Black girl. But the point is, like, Netflix is starting to, and I know that we have the issues with Netflix right now because of what happened with Monique and her fighting for, her equality around whatever. And I'm not even going to take a side on that. No entity is perfect. Netflix is still a corporation. But in a lot of circles, you'll see this conversation happening around Netflix kind of disrupting Hollywood. Because it's making it so you could just put out a major film or something like that without even having to go through the traditional Hollywood channels.
Yeah, it's simply with Netflix and the advent of just social media in general, it definitely it demystifies the route to Hollywood and success and fame simply just because of accessibility. That you have whole industries being either revitalized or being made simply just because that the road to the creator to the viewer is a lot more clear and with less obstacle than it is to kind of go through the routes of Hollywood and saying, okay, yeah, let me write something and let me see where I'll get the money from, and then having people kind of like put their hands in and kind of just have their way with it. Now it's where it also stands to make content more purest to its form because creators have more creative control. And with that being said, because internet is becoming more commonplace, especially in areas that didn't have it before, it's going to definitely, we're going to see just a lot more perspective and a lot more representation in ways that we've never seen it before. I mean, we're talking about gaming, we're talking about anime, we're talking about TV, we're talking about movies, we're even talking about just writing, just the way that content is being distributed, and it's distributed into a way that it's way more accessible, will definitely help speed along the process of the things that we are looking to see when it comes to Black representation, Black women representation, and all kinds of different elements of representation.
One thing that's real interesting, Spike Lee recently did his movie She's Gotta Have It. I have music on the soundtrack.
Yes,
he was
you
able
do.
to include independent artists in that soundtrack and not have to go automatically through like a label's catalog or something like that. And Spike actually handpicked each and every independent artist and formed a relationship with every independent art. Well, I don't know if he formed a relationship. I got to have a relationship with Spike. Like he's somebody I can text with and just talk to, which is really fucking amazing because that type of opportunity never really existed when I was only able to license my music to Viacom and MTV. And where would a show like She's Gotta Have It, which is a show about a Black woman and her sexual autonomy, what network would that have been on?
None.
Where a Black woman expressing her sexual autonomy with 3 different Black men, and she's also an artist, and she's also hella Brooklyn. Where would that have happened other than on Netflix?
Yeah.
And where would Chewing Gum have happened
Oh.
other than a girl who looks like that, who talks like that, from that environment? And she's not even a Black American girl. So we're seeing slang as Black girls that we don't even know. We're seeing cultural norms that we don't even know, but we're connecting with it because we're looking for content that speaks to us. And it's not just Black women, it's women of color.
Yes.
And I'm going to take it so far as to say women in general, because women want to see representations of femininity that are not all male driven or
Yep.
not all based around what men want to see when they look at a woman or the ideas of like how women are supposed to behave.
Yeah.
And Netflix is opening up an avenue for that. Now there's also a black owned one called Quelle TV.
Yes.
Admittedly, I don't know a lot about Quelle TV. I just found out about it when Monique started popping off and people was like, why don't you put nothing on Quelle TV? And then I felt bad because I'm like, I didn't even know about that. I'm saying, how black am I? So I have to get up on that. But I think that entities like that and you know, but a lot more media networks, now that we know that net neutrality is coming, a lot more media networks are going to be creating their own content.
Exactly.
Which is why I said Black Panther is important, because now it proves that black content is profitable.
Very profitable. Yes, it's where the playing field is starting to kind of pan out a little bit more. Because, like, even when I think about shows like Star Trek Discovery, it's, you know, because also, too, you do have two leading women of color. You have Sonika Green's character, and you also have Michelle Yeoh's character. So it's just where we are just in this, what I call a renaissance of representation, and it's in the internet, and social media is definitely moving it along at a rapid rate that I don't think would have been done without the internet, and therefore with things like Netflix and other platforms that are giving more room for people, and not just people with money, but just people with an ambition and with a dream to say, hey, look, I have faith in this project. I want you to have faith in it too. So here you go. Take it.
Now all we need to see is proper representation for our Asian sisters and brothers. They stop getting played by white people all the time. And
Come on
we'll
now.
really be getting somewhere.
Scarlett, we're talking about you.
Yeah, again, I like ScarJo. I just don't need to see ScarJo as an Asian lady.
Yeah, it definitely sends the wrong message, especially when you have women claiming
gorgeous,
to
amazing, talented, awesome Asian actresses, Asian and Indian actresses who are out here who need the roles and need the parts and could benefit from it.
Yes.
And then you go get ScarJo, who's already had an amazing career.
And then of just one movie. One movie she could do like maybe 10 people's careers. So it's just disingenuous when you have that kind of whitewashing. So it's just now. We get to the discussion where we talk about hashtag what Black Panther means to me. And what we have here, we have different people explaining exactly what that hashtag says. So, for example, we have Handle at Mika Burton, also known as an actor, seeing roles that aren't just the black sidekick, the maid, the sassy black friend. Give me hope for my career. And as a nerd, I finally feel validated as a nerd of color. This is every childhood trauma finally being vindicated. Wow, that's very, very powerful. That is. That's a lot. Now, on to the next one. We have Handle Mr. Randy Watson. It's everything, really. To know that kids can walk down the toy aisle and see an action figure that looks like them, that black women can be warriors too, that communities are coming together to make sure underprivileged kids see it. It's us celebrated. Touche there. We have at Handle Esco Blades. Finally seeing Africa depicted in a powerful and positive light, free from the effects of colonialism, with characters that look like me, having motivations beyond the portrayal of black pain on screen. At Rena V Cosplay, that I have lived long enough to see little black girls, dark-skinned, natural hair, even bald, have these powerful African women who are strong, beautiful, and brilliant in STEM at that, to look up to and buy toys and merch for. Like, that's, like, clearly this definitely speaks to an experience that a lot of people still try to undermine and say that it's not that big of a deal. So, hashtag what Black Panther means to me. Go.
I think there are times when I have to check my privilege because I had the privilege of being socially awkward, meaning I even though I was nerdy and even though I had very niche interests, I did not care that people didn't necessarily think that my interests were cool or didn't necessarily like the same things that I like. And it shaped me to be the adult I am, where, you know, I walk into business meetings with 2 nose rings and my side cut and my brown and purple dreads down to my butt that I have been growing for 20 years. And I get the benefit of owning a very other approach to my womanhood and femininity that a lot of women don't get to experience, that a lot of people of color don't get to experience, because I'm also an artist. And so in a lot of ways, I understand that I have privilege in that I'm able to be very expressed and find representation in different things I connect with that other people don't. And so when I read the What Black Panther Means to Me hashtag, and these are mostly like grown folk doing this, I was moved by it because I'm like, that's like, people really were looking for this type of representation. People really were looking for this type of aesthetic. People were looking for permission to connect with certain ideas and connect with certain images. And I thought that was really beautiful that they found something that allowed them that. And I can only hope that people create more content that speaks to that. Yes. I mean, I'm a content creator, so I only hope that the content that I put out can connect with people in a similar way and help them find something very special inside of them that they were not able to. Because a lot of times we can't express certain things about ourselves without a reference point.
Yeah.
Like,
true.
To see a warrior woman and see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Will give a young, not even necessarily a little girl, but maybe just a young woman, an idea, an aesthetic that goes along with how she feels about herself.
Yes.
And we are visual creatures. So I think that that's real important. And I loved it. I thought it was badass. So I hope that there's more of that moving forward. Like, I like, this is like, you know, we have these different industries. You know, Shea Moisture, y'all didn't have to go get no little light-skinned girl with unnappy hair to represent for y'all brand. And H&M, that darkest monkey in the circus thing, that wasn't cool. And Dove, you didn't have to have a black girl pulling off her black and become white. Like, I hope that they starting to see that you can just market to black people and it's fine.
It's fine.
And not only that, it is not only black people that are excited to see Black Panther. Like, that's another thing. Like, you think everybody and their mama ain't going to see Black Panther? I have white friends who are talking about what they gonna wear when they go see Black Panther. So, like, seriously, like, let's just accept, like, in any other instance, we accept that things that are black are lucrative and entertaining. Hip-hop is still black. I know that a lot of the people at the forefront of hip-hop right now that are having a lot of success are people that are not necessarily black, but it's still black culture. The NBA is still mostly black players.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's not act like we don't love black people in entertainment. So, like, now this film is going to just be the one exception and we need to pick it apart?
Yeah,
agreed. Nah, fam. We ain't doing that.
Yeah. And to kind of, you know, this will kind of segue into this. What Black Panther Means to Me hashtag. It's where I grew up. I grew up reading comics. I grew up painting, doing illustration. I grew up watching the anime that I could get a hold of. A lot of what my hobbies were. It's where now, looking in hindsight of how people tend to think that they are, you know, that there's this correlation with whiteness, that these hobbies are something that, oh, well, this is a white people thing. Where it's like, you have to realize that white people did not create the culture. They simply just are more visible with it. And because of the systemic nature and how they use their power, they can therefore kind of make you think that, well, this is white stuff. When you look at the manga that comes from various areas of Japan, when you look at all of these different movies that come from places like Nigeria and Ghana and Latin, various parts of Latin America, and when you just think about these things that don't even originate with white people anyway, and yet here we are, still in a way kind of saying that nerd culture is somehow still what white people do. It's something that I'm glad Black Panther and other examples like this are finally kind of saying, hey, look, since we're talking about nerd culture, let's really talk about the origins here. Let's really kind of unpack what we've associated with pop culture, that this is not a white thing, that we are not trying to be white, or we are not trying to simply other ourselves because it'll give us possibly either, protection, from being the stereotypical Black, or saying that, hey, look, this will put me on a pedestal that's higher than the average Black because my hobbies align with a more non-Black sector. But it's just something that we express ourselves. We've been part of the culture for a very long time. It's just that the story of how we filtered into it is just, it's not the same story. So for me, and as a content creator myself, it's just only simply telling me like, hey, Nicole, just go out and do your thing. Nothing is truly stopping you in putting together what you want to see for yourself. And that now that the advent of social media is making things a lot more accessible and possible to access, it's like, it only just gives me hope because it tells the person that's in their 1-bedroom apartment, with a camera, with a mic and saying, hey, Nicole, you can do magic, and don't think that you have to be of a particular pedigree to get it done because of the avenues of what's available to you now. So
I personally am just sick of everything being compared to white people.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
Right, like the highest thing that we could ever aspire to is to have the same thing that whites have. That's not what equality is.
It's not.
Equality is, I have the power to achieve the maximum result with what I'm good at and what I'm up to. Like I have the power to have everything that I deserve and earn it. That's equality. Not, hey, I want to be on, like, and that's, we do not need to compare Black Panther to Wonder Woman, or to Batman, or to Superman. Like, it can just be something in and of itself that does really well.
Yep.
Like, we don't necessarily have to play the corporate numbers game. We could just like it for what it is and not feel like we need to compare it to everything white or compare ourselves to everything white. We can just be what we are. And I think that, it's probably going to make some Black folk mad that I said that, but we need to quit doing that.
They'll be all right.
Like, stop. Right. We need to stop comparing ourselves all the time and just let things be what they are.
Yep. So, now, this is the part where we got to say, well, that's that. So,
This was fun, though.
It was a lot of information and just a lot of just the vibes. Like, oh, you and Sheila were just amazing, and just bringing you guys to the table. I know that the audience is gonna be like, oh man, like, we need to get on it.
I'm very appreciative to Street Level for bringing me out, and to First Aid Comics for having us here today. This was a lot of fun.
It was.
I appreciate you. Were an amazing host.
Oh,
The host with the most, Nicole. Thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you all very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you at the next podcast.